Is here.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, Ludmila, thanks. I would like to invite you first to to present yourself and the EU Sunrise project because you are the initiator of the project, and I would like to present it.
Okay.
Maybe in few words.
Okay. Uh, one moment. I have one pager. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't ready for that.
Or it's just in few words, because you are the initiator of the project. If you want, otherwise you can do it at the end. It's not a must to do.
Uh, I have found one pager of our project.
Mm.
Do you see it?
Because I'm sharing the screen, so I
Do you
need
see it?
to. Yeah, we see it now.
Okay, so I found a one pager. As maybe I need also to turn on my video. Hi everyone, thank you for joining this first webinar in our project. As Andro said, I was initiated because I am the most interested in this project. I'm Ludmila. I'm from Ukraine. I'm a founder and managing director of Prikarbashin Eco Energy Cluster. It's a small cluster on the western part of Ukraine, and during the last events, not only about the war, but all this strategy that Ukraine wants to join the European Union, the cluster movement from its very beginning was the initiative of volunteers. Because we see that clusters is something that could be jointly understood in the same way between European companies, European countries, and Ukraine. Because, we have different culture, we have different business model, business traditions, let's say it so. We have different governmental structure, and so far Ukraine was like a gray area for European companies. So when I started to think and to popularize the idea of clusters, a lot of companies didn't even understand what the clusters means. So they some of them were very skeptical that it's an undoable thing to create a cluster in order to bring closer Ukrainian companies to European standards and European partners. But time after time, after every conversation I have, some very strategic thinking companies believed me and joined into my cluster. So those companies, actually companies who works with innovations, who works with green energy, with renewable energy, so they, from the basis of their minds, were very straightforward towards going to better business, to more ecological business, to business that's very close in standards with European Union. So after that, since we didn't have any program in Ukraine to support clusters, it was all initiative of volunteers and spent only my personal time and my personal effort and resources to move on and push forward the cluster concept. But after that, in Ukraine, there are already some history of cluster movements, and we have, I think, more than 30 clusters in Ukraine in different areas. And one of them is eco energy area. 2 years ago, when there was call to collaborate between European companies and Ukraine, I, since already was very active, found a very great partners from 6 countries. And you can see on the slide that those countries are Poland, Sweden, Norway, Portugal, and Slovenia. And when we saw the concept of the call, that it should be creating the linkage between Ukrainian companies and European companies, the fact is that these clusters and these countries are so different, but in the same time with very similar values. our concept was created and our consortium was created. And I'm very grateful for leaders for each cluster that joined this project, and we together wrote this application and want this application to combine, first of all, our competences, which are very different, our resources, our possibilities, and our knowledge. So the project itself unites 6 clusters from Sweden, Norway, Poland, Ukraine, Slovenia, and Portugal. Each cluster has its own specificity. For example, Swedish cluster is a cluster who unites mostly international companies because Swedish companies are already very good in internationalization. While, for example, in Ukraine, the company is more oriented on internal market. But this is a competence that is lacking, and Swedish cluster can share this knowledge, how they grow so fast and have this internationalization within the cluster companies that, for example, we don't have. Then we have Norway cluster, energy cluster. Norwegian cluster is very active in innovations in hydrogen. So as you maybe don't know, but Norway is the first country in the world on a speed of collecting new IPs and new patents on hydrogen technology. So the biggest number, of course, it is under Chinese Chinese institutions and US institutions, but Norway is a leader in fast and speed collecting number of different patents in hydrogen. It's a very powerful cluster, and they have, for example, own R&D projects. It's very easy, also a very unique feature for clusters, because clusters actually, most of all, just have some service for SMEs or some program support, and Norwegian cluster has actual really great R&D projects. Then we have Portugal cluster. Portugal cluster is a cluster based on batteries technology. That's because the Portugal recently discovered the big source of lithium, and this is the second biggest source in Europe. So they concept the speed of growing accumulative technologies is really amazing. So their competence in energy storage is also unique in the whole Europe. Of course, we have Slovenian cluster. Slovenia cluster is small and big at the same time. So this most experienced cluster, and with a country which actually, if I'm not wrong, has no big part of own renewable energy sources. So you are the country who import outside, and at the same time you are most greener country in Balkan territory. And we have also the Polish partner. Polish partner ECN, Energy Clusters Network, is very also interesting and unique partner, because Poland is the first country in whole Europe who introduced on the level of law the creation of so-called energy clusters, not as a business units, but as a infrastructural units. So in that way, Polish government transform their centralized energy system into decentralized by creating local energy clusters, and their experience in this case is very interesting on terms of resilience, in terms of different kind of attacks, and rebuilding so-called balanced energy system. So, and Ukraine as well, this is my country. Ukraine right now is a center of unique competence of energy resilience and very fast rebuilding energy system. No one country in the whole world has the same experience of quickly rebuilding energy grids as we have, because we have to do it. In everyday constant attacks, our engineers are able to rebuild the energy grid so fast that no one other country in the world can do so. So we possess a very unique competence in this case. In such a way, altogether, our consortium make a very complement set of skills, knowledge, and experiences, and that's why we would like to share it with you. That means that within our project, we have few goals. The first goal is create this network of complementable skills and resources. The second is to help our businesses to connect with each other and have more opportunities in business, like more clients, more markets, more easily find partners or clients in other countries. The second is we are aimed to matchmaking between these companies to have some agreements. And the final stage is also we would like to introduce new technology within energy sector related to XR and VR. That means virtual reality and extended reality. So this new technology of virtual and extended reality right now is far away from energy sector because energy sector is developing slowly in the means of digital tools, and we would like to help and to give this added value to our companies so they can be more visible, more efficient, even if the distances between our countries are so far. So that's the short introduction of our project. If you would like to have information more, we will have next set of webinars where our cluster consortiums will share with you, for example, Norwegian cluster will share with you how they initiate R&D in their companies, how they make this partnership between cluster members to make this R&D, how they finance this R&D. Then we have very interesting webinar next by Swedish cluster about how to support companies and how to build these internalization models. Because it's not actually obvious, but they have experience, they have already some issues that can share how to avoid. Then we will have very great webinar on this clusters community, this energy communities. And in March, we will have the last webinar on energy resilience, or actually use case of Ukraine. So thank you for your attention. And right now, one of the most interesting webinar is about how business model of different clusters can be good for you in your conditions. So thank you, Vladimir. Andro, I'll give you the floor to you.
Thank you, Lyudmila. That was much more than expected, but thanks again. So, can you unshare? I will start to share. Okay, the classical question, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, let's start. Okay, just a moment. As Ludmila said, we planned also other webinars. Here are the dates for some of them. But you can see more on our LinkedIn page. So I would like to invite you to follow our project on LinkedIn. You can scan this QR code or simply type on LinkedIn browser EUA Sunrise and you will find the project page. And we are going to start with this webinar about business models. So I will start with the pictures of these two tables. What do you think? What's the difference? I would like I would like to invite you to be open to talk. If you have any idea, just say. So, what's the difference here? You can see two tables. We know why we need tables, but
one is probably IKEA, right?
Excuse me?
One is probably IKEA, right?
Yeah, one is for sure IKEA and one is not. So thanks, Ken. What do you think? What's the difference?
The second one have shelves.
Yes.
Yes, okay. But okay, because we are talking about business model, the real difference is in the business models. The first one is from IKEA, and it costs about 100 euros, and the second one is from one Australian company, Boucher, and it costs about few thousand euros. Can you imagine? One simple table and it costs few thousand euros. So the big difference is in the business model, and in this case, the difference is which customers we serve. So that's for the beginning about business models. Uh, there are many definitions about what business model is, and I would like to invite you to write in the chat what do you think what is a business model. Please do this in the chat because we will probably see many different definitions. But it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Just type. What is a business model? So or you can say it's uh, I just want to hear what do you think what is a business model?
Can we ask AI
No,
to
no, no,
answer?
no. Yeah, I would later say something about ChatGPT and AI, or I can do this right now. You can ask ChatGPT everything, almost everything. But I think that is important that you understand at least the basics. What is the what is the problem? You know, because ChatGPT can say many things about business models, and but if you don't understand what really is, uh, I don't know how can help you. So, do anyone has any idea what is a business model? Maybe you, Professor George.
Pardon me. Oh, I really
Because I
have.
know you.
Yes. Okay. I really have to ask AI about that. He
Okay.
has name. We are good friends, so he will answer very quick. But I'm not sure about it. It's mixture of many definitions in my mind. But
Mm.
I could mix it so that it's better not to answer.
Okay, maybe Andrei, I see you're also here.
There's some answers in the chat.
Okay, Vladimir, this Antonio Matis, a set of rules and guidelines that deliver added value to the customers. Yes, something too often used in different documents. Okay, a brief overview. Thank you very much. I didn't see the chat. Okay, let's see what is one definition of business model which I use. What? So, business model describes the rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. So everything is about value. It's not about the product, it's not about the service, it's about value. And we need to translate our products and services into value for our customers. So I said that there are many theoretical discussions about business models, etc. But in practice, we need something that we can quickly use, and this is business model canvas. Probably many of you know very well what business model canvas is. It consists of 9 basic building blocks. The first one is, or one of them is customer segments. Then we need to know value proposition, channels, customer relationship, revenue streams, key resources, etc. I will quickly present the building blocks. So at the beginning, we need to know who are our customers. In our case, because we are clusters, our customers are cluster members. But do we have more customers, not only cluster members? Think, uh, what do you think? It's only cluster members, or there are also other customers? Okay, maybe we will have more ideas at the end of the webinar. So the second building block is value proposition. Here we need to ask ourselves why someone is willing to pay for our products or services. What kind of problem we are helping to solve to him. The next building block is channels. So channels means how customers will know for our products and services and for ourselves, how we will sell and deliver the products or service. The next building block is customer relationship, and then we have revenue streams. The next is key resources, key activities, partners, and costs. So with these 9 building blocks, we can describe the business model. Here is the whole picture, and this picture is translated into this business model canvas. And here is the example of one of canvases for one well-known company. Maybe you know for which company it is. What do you think? This is one way of how we put the information on the canvas. What do you think? Which company is this?
IKEA.
Yes, thanks, Ludmila. It's IKEA, yeah. So you can see different customer segments. You can see what is the value for IKEA. It's, for example, cost introduction, customization, and so on. The next example, what do you think? Which company is this?
Netflix or something similar to that?
I will. It's an internet company, but there is Facebook platform. Perhaps it's Facebook.
Yeah, it is. It is Facebook. Yeah. Here is interesting because we have 3 different customer segments, and one of them get services for free. You know,
It's,
and
it's not even
probably.
realistic because one of the important revenue streamers of Facebook is selling the data. But okay, that's
Yeah, I know, but
it's
this
not.
is
That's
behind the
one of
door.
the things that I don't like in business plans. They don't tell all the truth.
Yeah,
Okay, but
this is behind the closed doors. We don't
yeah,
know nothing about this, but it's true. It's completely true what we're saying. Uh, so this is the example for the Facebook business model, and here is another one example. What do you think? For which company is this?
it's a company that sells razor to razors. But I don't.
Yes.
Perhaps one of them,
Probably,
Gillette
Gillette.
or yeah, perhaps that.
probably Gillette or I don't know. But
Wilkinson.
maybe. But why this business model is interesting? Because the similar business models use the mobile phone companies, for example. Do you agree? What do you think? Because when you once the customers, you are probably locked in you know, it's you don't change the mobile provider each month. You can stay for years. So it's the similar business model like for razor blade companies. And now we will do a little small exercise. Do you recognize the picture? I guarantee that you see the picture at least one time in your life, but probably much more times. Do you recognize the picture? No.
It's
What
it's a
about now?
painting, it's some trees, but I don't get it.
It's a painting, famous painting. And now? No. And
It's a
now?
Yeah.
Now
Yes,
Mona
you
Lisa.
now you recognize, yes, it's Mona
Mona
Lisa.
Lisa. Yeah.
Uh, why this exercise? Because I would like to to tell that business model focuses on the whole picture. With the business model canvas, we can see Mona Lisa. But with the business plan, we focuses on the details, on each building block of this whole picture. And the problem is if our assumptions are wrong, you know, if we predict the wrong data when we prepare the business plan. So this is the problem. And here is a comparison between the business plan and the business model. So, for example, for the business plan, we usually prepare maybe 100 pages of data and information. For many times, this is only the 100 pages of our wishes because everything is changed every day, and what we predict, it's not necessary that will happen in the future. So my suggestion is start with business model, understand your business, and later on, when you need, prepare the business plan with the right data. That's about the comparison between the business plan and the business model. And just one thing, you know, business model focuses on the whole picture, and business plan focuses on the details. Very similar is also in the European project. Instead of business plan, use the word description of work and work packages. So, you know, here are the project partners. Some understand work package very well, some a little less, and we have a consortium. That's it. Is just an example. So the next question is when we have business model canvas and we want to design a business model or describe our current business model, where to start? So what do you think? Where to start?
I've already done some business, wrote some business plan. Normally, I start value proposition. What is the added value? What is differentiated my offer from the competition?
Okay.
That's what I think.
So first suggestion, don't start from the left to the right. And Antonio suggested that we can start with value proposition. Yeah, this is okay if we know what value proposition is. So we have We have more options, but I suggest to start with your customers, more specifically with the customers' problems. How can you your help them? How can you help your customers? Or ask them, because we are the customer managers here, ask yourself, what are the problems our cluster members have or they want to be solved? And can you write this in the chat and tell to the colleagues who are here on the webinar, what do you think? What are the main problems of cluster members? I think it's not the same in each country because we are very specific. Maybe in one country, the problems of cluster members are something totally different than from the other country. So you can start with customer segments, more specifically with their problems, or you can start with key resources. And I suggest to start here. Let's start with the cluster key resources. And what do you think? What are the key resources of your cluster? Or who want to say, who want to explain what are the key resources of cluster? What do you think?
Andro, you have some answers in chat. If you
Oh,
if
you know,
if you
because I
don't see
have
the chat,
the, I can see the chat. Oh, hello.
maybe Vladimir can help you with this because the chat is
Maybe,
very
yeah,
active.
maybe Vladimir, can you read the answers?
People, employees, from Bernard, contributors, from Tech Cluster Network, from Bernard with Industry Cluster from Slovenia, and also our is the same network of European partners. But people funds from Antonio Martins. These are the Alexandra membership fees, for example. Great track record for applying for and receiving funds. Expertise, that's expertise. Yeah. Very good.
Okay, I would move the membership fees from key resources to revenue streams.
Yeah.
But finance is the key resource because without the finance we can do our work.
Okay, I just wanted to add good connection with the authorities, which was added by George from Klasa
That's good.
Dunja, Serbia. But on the other hand, can be a negative key resource if these connections are not good. So this can be also an issue.
Okay.
Collaboration between members.
Collaboration, yes. And what about trust? What do you think? Is trust key resource or not?
I think that's a value proposition, the trust.
It's could be also a part of the value proposition, but from one point, from other point is the key research, because without the trust, we cannot have a cluster. If the cluster members or potential cluster members don't trust us, there is no cluster. So, what ca-
Trust
and now,
exists, partnerships evolve.
yeah, and now the next question is, we have a list of key resources in the chat, and now ask yourself, how can we use these key resources to help our cluster members or our customers? How can we use these resources? What kind of problems can we solve for them? And Vladimir, please read from the chat the ideas. So this is an example of how can we use Canvas. What we exactly know is what resources we have. We can start here. Now we can start to think about our customers. We have cluster members, and we understand what are our resources. So we can think about what we can do with these resources. What problems can we solve for our customers, and so on. Vladimir?
For example, I added just connect SME with complementary ambitions. These SMEs in many cases can be competitors on the same market. We are talking now Slovenia, which is a small country. And in many cases, with built-in trust, we can manage to get them together to do something together. And this is directly related to this key resource of trust between members, which rises in time. Of course, if there is a will among these cluster members, and we can be a leverage to prepare joint collaborative projects among SME partners and help them to get EU funding. That's what we do. So this is direct relation, trust, value proposition, and SME needs.
Okay, Vladimir, do you have something in chat?
Not yet.
Not yet. So we have resources and we have customers, and we need to find what we can do with our resources for our customers. So, or we can ask another question: what are the main problems of our customers? Who would like to answer? What are the main problems of our customers?
Finding new clients,
Finding new
survive,
clients.
have a financial support.
Financial support for what?
For doing business, because the main goal of business is to earn money. If this is the main goal, this means the main problem.
Yeah. For example, Vladimir, can you say something about the financial support for SMEs from the other projects?
Yeah, one good example was ice build project we ran. So we supported them to go to third country markets, and through European funding, there was opportunities to set up business opportunities in these third markets, Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth. Now Egypt, for example, but also in Ukraine, which is the case of our project, Sunrise. But this is not always related only with European or national project, can be a service of its own. One key problem in construction, probably in many countries, are human resources, workers, and skills of these workers for new technologies and for retrofitting of buildings, for example, energy retrofit for buildings. But if we transpose this to Ukraine, and Lyudmila can tell more, probably they have this on even larger scale, the problem. So how clusters can overcome the issue of lack of resources to retrofit the country.
Yes, in Ukraine, that's a real big problem. Yeah, of course. So I think you even cannot imagine how big this problem is in Ukraine. So as one of the solutions that I told my cluster members is you need to survive without people. That means you need to be more automatized. You need to have solutions like IT, digital solutions, and you should have partners to share the risks and to share your business with, because alone is very hard. So in Ukraine, there are big, huge problem with people, especially in energy sector, because energy sector preliminary is dominated by male workers, and male workers right now on the front, or yes, and also a lot of people of working age, most effective working age went abroad, like few millions. So that's the huge problem.
Okay,
so
thank
how
you.
clusters can help? What I, of course, trying to explain them, but I don't know if it's a help. I think it's like what I see, but it doesn't mean that we can direct resources to help. That's why such project as ours are very important, because we can have collaboration, and for those companies who have shortcomings with their people or with finance or with clients, it could be the good solution to partners with someone who doesn't have such problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Lyudmila, you just described the real use case of business model. Actually, if you use it in the discussion with your member and say, okay, you have the business model with key resources, people which are not there anymore, so you have to change it somehow. And this simple tool, as you see on the screen, can be something to be used at discussion about that. So that's the point of this simple canvas approach, which can be very useful in discussion or convincing them to do something about their situation, about their business model, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, but today's topic is about business model for clusters, not for my members.
Yeah, of course, but you showed us that it can be used in many situations for businesses, but also for cluster, for any public organization. For example, it's not even it's not business. This doesn't mean that this is for profit businesses only. It's for any organization which delivers value, any kind of. Can be the government, for example. No, I'm kidding now, but actually, it's a very unique and an important tool to be used by many types of organizations. Andro, go on.
I just want to say that when we're talking about business models for clusters, it's about cluster business models. But on the other side, we are also talking about business model canvas, which we can use to understand the cluster members' problems and find a value proposition for them, for our cluster members. So we can use this business model canvas in both ways for us and for our cluster members. And even one of the services we can offer for our cluster members is to find a better business model with this simple business model tool. And another question for you, when we talk about cluster business model, what do you think? How many business models can cluster have? One, two, more? How many? Maybe, what do you think? It's only one, or we can have more? It's okay, I will help you. It depends on situation. In some cases, only one. If we are small, for example, a small cluster. In other cases, we can have many different business models for different customer segments, for different products we offer. So it's not uh, uh, depends on the situation. You can have one, but in more or less every cluster could have more different business models. So we talked a little about key resources, we talked a little about customer segments, and in the middle is the value proposition. So how can you describe the value proposition for your cluster? What do you think? Why they are willing to pay the membership fee? Why they're paying? Because this is the reason, this is the value proposition. They are not paying for just because they're in the cluster. They're paying because they value something. And it's good to know what this is. Vladimir, what do you think? What is the value proposition?
Um, I wrote access to EU funding, access to collaborative development opportunities with other businesses or organizations. Important human resources. George said before, having a war in our country, Serbia, 20 years ago, we have seen a wish of companies to stay small just to survive war situation or governmental war measures. So, that was a change of business model in war situation in Serbia. One of the changes of business model of companies.
Mhm. Okay. Anyone has another idea what could be value proposition for cluster? No. Okay.
Probably fulfilling the wishes of the members, or at least contributing to the activities of the members.
Yeah, but
In a way, this cluster exists because they are members, so we have to fulfill the needs of the members.
yeah,
That's my opinion.
thank you for saying this because with value proposition, we are solving the customer's problems or we are uh, fulfilling their wishes. It's two different things. One is wish and one is a problem. But yeah, thank you for saying this.
because perhaps which is not the best word. When I understand by need, sometimes is that those things or those activities that create value for the customers. It may not be solving their problems. It may be, for example, showing them opportunities, that sort of transferring information as value, may have value for them.
I mean, it's when we are talking about problems here in
Yeah.
design in business model canvas.
One example for small and medium companies. Right now, the digital product passport is going on for batteries. Legislation is changing fast, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of the legislation. So, if the cluster can help the small and medium enterprise be updated to the regulations, it's good. Hmm.
In this case, cluster helps to solve their problem with the
Yeah,
regulations.
yeah,
I
Um,
just added this, Antonio. I completely agree with you, because companies are really lacking the time and resources to follow all the new development in digital domain or in technological domain. They are small. They must run for the business for the money to earn. Uh, and this can be one of the strongest, sort of value proposition we have to say we are here. That's now I'm thinking on our value proposition. We are here following, engaging ourselves in different European projects, knowing what's going on in digital passport, I don't know, LCA, whatever, you know, and we can get you toward these domains. And it's not directly something for them, but potentially something they cannot actually follow because they have limited resources. We talk now about SMEs, but it's not big deal also for big companies. They cannot follow everything.
okay.
yes, and I add sometimes the guys in the European Union make it hard to follow the regulations. Sometimes they like people to sweat finding them. Okay.
Great.
Okay, well, let's say something about revenue streams in this business model canvas. What what are the revenue streams for clusters? For example, membership fees. What could be next? European projects.
I wrote from public funding 100% if this is completely co-financed cluster in some countries. Lucky they, lucky them. And to 100% on service fee. So both directions are possible, and everything in between, with major, I would say, major part being European funding, European projects. Not so much anymore European national ones, but I know many clusters, and I would say it's like this. So European funding nowadays in majority of clusters is somehow key revenue stream to make the financing of the cluster possible.
So if we have public, if we are funded by public fundings, that means that one of the key partners is, for example, the Ministry for Economy, who recognizes our work as important. What do you think? Do you agree with this argumentation? So Vladimir said that cluster could be 100% funded public or private, offering services. So depending on this, we have different business models. Totally different. So when we talk about cluster building business models, we also talk about how cluster is funded. For example, at the beginning, in some countries, clusters are funded 100% for a few years, and later on, they must step on their own legs. And here is the catch, because it's good to be 100% funded for a few years, for example, for 3 years. But what after that? What to do after that? So it's good to understand the cost structure. How much money do you really need that your cluster can stay alive? It's good to understand and where to get this money. So one option is public funds, at least I don't know, 10%, 20%. The other option is membership fee. The next option is European projects. The next option is, for example, services fees, and so on. So I'm asking you, on how many ways can cluster get some money? Can you suggest? We'll start. Vladimir, is something in the chat?
Yeah, I'm writing the public EU, private for through membership fee, and private to services. So four actually, two of them is private. That's how I see it. And maybe you can explain how to do the canvas with these different colors in the example of the Facebook, because that's the approach to deal with different canvases, different business models.
Yeah. For example, different revenue streams, different customer segments, and we can see in the business model canvas different, for example, uh, channels and relationships for different customers. That's one example. So we are here.
Andro, Kane just said the same as I was saying. Four ways: long-term public funds, membership fees, short-term project together with companies. This is probably you or national funding, and direct consultancy pay for businesses utilizing our services. So this is the four main ones, as I said. So it's clear. So we can do all, or we focus from time to time. We move from one to another depending on the situation, and that's why using a canvas can be a helpful tool to predict the situations for the future.
Okay.
When there will be no public funding anymore. So we experience this hard time in Slovenia.
Vladimir, could you please share how business model canvas looks for your cluster? Like, because you are 25 years on the market at the cluster, and you didn't have always the support programs from government. So how did you survive? Can you please share your experience and your business model canvas example?
We've done it with some other training opportunity, but I don't remember where it is in Canvas. But as I said, right now, currently we are running on European funding mainly. This is 95% of our budget, and 5% is let's say private support through membership fee and a little bit through services.
Can you please go
this is
column
our current
by
situation.
column?
Sorry?
Like column by column? Can you get through column by column, like value proposition of your cluster that, because for example, in my cluster, I'm struggling with this because we have so different cluster members and their needs are so different and so far away from each other that value proposition is actually hard to define as one. So could you please, on your example, tell us information about that, like start with value proposition, then key activities, key resources, key partners, customer, like going through all this business canvas.
Yeah, I will find canvases for our cluster, and now I will stop share. I will put in the chat section the link for the application for business models, and when I will looking for our canvases, I suggest you to register on this app and start exercising for your clusters to design the business model. And in a few minutes, I'll be back and show the canvas for our cluster. It's okay? Do you see the link for the application in the chat?
Yes. I thought that maybe you can just describe like in few words.
I will.
Yeah, I will. But in between, in these 5 minutes, when I'm just need to find in my computer the canvas, please register on this app and start to design the business model for your cluster, each of you, if you wish, of course. And now I'm going to find.
Okay.
Ludmila, if I can start with this, Andro will show it later. Actually, due to this fact that the finances comes from EU project only, the main value proposition is related to getting our members involved in this European project and bringing them to novel technologies, to novel partners in third countries through projects which are on internationalization domain. Now we are again working on skills. We prepared a skills project proposal for life, for example. So this is help again in the domain of improving the skills for energy retrofit. So this is the business model. It is based actually of the sources of the financing. In our case, because there is no national support, no public funding. Also, hardly we cannot say the Ministry of Economic is our key partner. It's not. we know them, but that's all. So the key partner is European Commission. Let's say it. So, and the agencies of the European Commission. And this then reflects, it is reflected in the value proposition. So getting access to new technologies, to new innovation, helping them to finance their innovation projects, getting new skills, getting trained, and so on, and opening new market opportunities, like Ukraine in the case of Sunrise project. So from the perspective of the cluster business model, actually this limitation of EU funding defines the business model design in our case. Andro.
Have you tried during your 25 years of history other models? Maybe you can share with us some fuck ups. Like
Yeah,
what didn't
we
work?
had at the beginning we had this national support, and it lasted until 2006, and we were developed, open. We started our business in 2004. So
Do you see the
Yeah, we see.
okay?
yeah, you see.
This is
So
the first
now
business
Andro can
model.
comment. You see the dates are there.
Yeah,
Yes, and I even know who prepared this canvas template. It's a how it calls
Christian
guy from
Rangen.
Norway.
Again.
Yeah, Rangen. Yeah,
Strategy tools.
strategy tools. Yeah, they're very good school.
Yeah.
But actually, it's
Christian Rangen.
Christian Rangen. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had also this course, but still, what is the most interesting from your side, since you are 25 years on the market? How many fuck ups did you have? How you overcome? What the errors, mistakes you learned from that you can, for example, share it with us, that we cannot, because when we start to fill up this business model canvas, it's not much different for your cluster, for my cluster. But if I start to fill up and I feel the same as you did before, and you did before it with a mistake and you already learned it from it. So I was expecting that you can share some tips that don't do this because it wasn't good for us. We tried it and it wasn't successful. Do you have such examples, such practical tips?
I
For
would say the
example,
practical tips is that be ready for the change of the business model. I think we were sort of not well prepared for that in some situations, in some years. So we had real problems,
uh,
and that is the problem,
Vladimir,
the key lesson learned,
I
and that's
would
why
like
this
to
tool is really important to use.
I would
Andro.
like to add something. Here you can see the customer relationships and very formal, not so often. This was the first big mistake. If you want to survive, you need to be connected with your cluster members. They need to know that you exist. You need to speak with them. Uh, so we didn't recognize this as very important until it was almost too late. Having good relationship with the cluster members is very important. Because if you take a time and speak with them, uh, which you can understand what are their expectations, what are their problems, how can you solve them, and so on. How can you help them? Where are the opportunities for them? Because we knew a lot of European projects, program, and so on, and we didn't recognize that with this knowledge we can help our cluster members because we can connect one company with another. For example, one company from Slovenia with one company from the other country, and so on. So the for me, the most important thing is communication, you know. But as a cluster managers, at the beginning, we are focusing on other things, which we think they are important. But without communication, there is no cluster. This does not exist. It's only on a paper. No, that's from my part.
Okay, but this communication is really, really time consuming. how did you monetize this time spending?
It's
How you, yeah.
I'm smiling because the words are almost the same. Vladimir used to say. It's time consuming. Yes, it is, but it is the activity, you know, you have key activities in the business model canvas, and the communication is one of them.
So
It's
how can you charge your cluster members? You cannot just send them the bill and you said, you know, I had communicated with you a few hours this week, please pay me for that. So how do you monetize this activity?
yeah, it's difficult if only once a year we receive a bill from you, but it's a little easier if they see you a few times per year and you talk with them. So once again, communication is important. Vladimir.
As I said before, uh, this is one of the key things, key issues with many clusters which are outside the public financing support, because they are focusing on getting the other financing through European project mainly, and they show the back to the cluster member in some way, and this is the real big mistake. So this work with cluster members, which actually don't have time to identify opportunity which is there, uh, it's helpful. For example, I was just inviting our members to some new project proposal, and before talking to them directly one to one, you know, we could not get the clear sight on this opportunity. But when we talk directly on phone and Zoom, we saw, okay, oh, these guys have done something in this regard before, so they don't are beginners, so they have something to show already, and actually, it's really compatible with some other suggestion from some other partner in the same project. And this is everything about communication. And without this communication, there would be no opportunity and no involvement of these two members in a future proposal. So it's key. And if you don't do that and do this really intensively, you cannot actually count on them to stay in the cluster.
Okay.
How did you measure the success? For example, when you speak with your cluster members, let's say this company calls A, and you try to convince them to join some project, and they just don't see it because, you know, they count the money. For example, such a business owner can think, oh, I need to devote my man for this project, and my man costs like 100 euros per hour. That means that my man should work on this project at least few hours per week, and that means that it's few thousand euros per week. And that means that I few thousand multiply by number of months. And I see that for me, it's not so interesting to collaborate and to join the project because, you know, business counts every hour and you don't. So how do you measure the success for them?
Well, this is the difference between the typical consultancy service and the cluster service. Because you cannot, you know, deliver what's there, especially if this is related to EU funding. You know, there is like 5% of chance to win the proposal. And you have to communicate with them and see if they are actually interesting and ready to go for this development. And they know this is investment. And if they don't see it, then it's really hard to work with them. So you see when you work with the cluster members, you see which are active, which are ready to take this step because it's profitable at the end of the day for them to have new offer, new service, new market. And the others, which means or thinks that something will just came by itself from you as some kind of money or funding, and they don't invest anything. So it's a lot of work with the cluster members, a lot of communication, and how to measure it. It's the number of EU money provided to cluster members, to cluster as such, number of projects, number of trainings. You can measure many things depending on the cluster model. What is your value proposition? Number of connection established, if this is number of visits to third country markets, anything can be measured. And normally, because this is changing in our situation depending on the project we are running, also the KPIs are different from year to year. It's not the same every year. So this is the dynamic of the clusters, I guess. And again, it's good to plan this dynamic ahead a bit as much as possible, or restructure the business model depending on the funding which is available at the current situation in current years, for example. So it's really dynamic. This is not business we make, I don't know, the chairs for many years. It's different. This is really dynamic structures. Again, depends on the cluster members, what they are looking for. Sometimes they are looking for example, I know the how it's called, the army cluster in Slovenia. There was just brief idea like couple of years ago. Now they get all the possible money for different developments in this domain in Slovenia and also from European sources. And this is not 20 years. This is like 5 years. They focus on this domain and they're really doing a good job, for example. And the construction is a little bit more tricky, more demanding in this domain. So energy, okay. But in general, it's not fast developing industry, and so we have to approach it differently.
Have you ever doubted the cluster model? Didn't you want to change your cluster to some consultancy agency? Have you had such thoughts in your head?
Yeah. Look at the presentation, the canvas. Almost all members resigned in 2018. We had a big problem, because the founding members, many of them didn't exist it anymore due to the crisis, and we lost a lot of members, and we had a lot of questions in our minds, what to do now, how to survive, and so on. So, yeah, but Vladimir can say maybe more about this.
Yeah, then we started with the new members. Actually, we completely changed the members and focus on the ones which were linked to some opportunities we opened through European projects, and we are doing the same all the time. So the membership is really dynamic. It's related to not long-term, but maybe more short-term engagement of cluster members in our cluster, because this reflects what we can offer through this model of support through European projects. So the content, the domains of European project we managed to gain reflects who is involved. For example, in a couple of years now we had internationalization activities supported, and the members which are interested in this join the clusters.
Have you ever thought to change your activity towards, I don't know, Googler consultancy agency instead of cluster?
This particular time we had these plans, but it's different, completely different model, and it's to some extent it's hard to provide services. Many times this can be sort of competition to cluster member services. This can be a tricky situation. They pay a fee, but you provide the service they provide for a money. But okay, this can be overcome. But you have to find the services which are not competing with the cluster members, for example. And you must have enough customers. Again, this is business model. If you start supporting the internationalization, services, developing it, you must have enough clusters to be interested in the service. And this is not easy. So this dynamics of providing different services through European project is the model we have at the moment running, and it's okay. But
Okay, I
completely
see in
stopping the operation of the cluster, yeah, we thought in this moment about it, but we had at that time also running projects, so we just could not stop it. And we value all the capital we had, the key resources we had received in now 4-6 years from this 2018. Too much valuable to just forget about that and stop everything. So we kept on going and go through crises, and then luckily we got some European projects of good quality, good funding, and now we are on the right track, I guess.
I see in the participants list there is few cluster members from other clusters. Can you share your experience and your thoughts on this? For example, I see, I don't know, Tanya or someone else from clusters. Can you share your thoughts? Okay.
Don't worry, we
We
are
don't
not
hear.
competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are on the same. We are on the same boat.
Yes. But we don't hear you. If you say something, Tanya, we don't hear you. Oh, Felix, can you share your thoughts on this, your experience? Have you ever doubted the cluster model from tech cluster? Felix Michal Teno.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's okay.
We hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not the manager of the cluster. My manager couldn't attend, so I took her place.
It's very hard to hear what you're saying, Felix. At least here in Norway.
Can maybe you can share what is your like main points in your cluster model? Because you're a big cluster and somehow you manage to have all these cluster members. How do you survive?
Yeah, we mainly survive on long-term Norwegian funding. That is our main source of funding at the moment. Then we also use a lot of individual projects, which we usually lead and also sell in some communication services and similar things to our entire network. So I think we have basically been surviving off short-term projects since we started in 20. I don't know. I think we've run for 7, 8 years, something like that. It's been a bit up and down. Sometimes we've had longer term funding, which gives us a lot more stability and also the possibility to grow a little bit. We currently have a big part of our funding from a long-term 3-year contract with Innovation Norway, but then we also complement that with a lot of individual projects where we basically identify a possibility of something within either new power production or now currently it's a lot on grid stability, like installing batteries to support the grid and things like that, and flexibility. Then we also have a lot of different support possibilities from different authorities in Norway, which I think is quite unique. In Europe, at least, we have a lot of state funding in different shapes and forms. And we have a very good track record of actually getting a lot of the projects we apply for. So I think that is the main value proposition that we have to the business, both identifying and putting together the consortiums needed to carry these projects out. And then also with that, we have a lot of good and relatively generous funding opportunities.
Yeah, you know what? When I speak with different clusters on cluster matchmaking events or conferences, there's like two types of clusters. The one type is located in those countries where the support from the government exists, and the second part is from the countries where it doesn't exist. So during all these conversations, I heard a very interesting thought, and I think that was thought from Robert, our cluster partner from Poland, that actually the main customer is not SME or business. The main customer is government, because all the progress we do with our activities is actually not for members, but for the whole ecosystem, and the whole ecosystem is should be maintained by government. So from this point of view, it's very interesting to take a look how governments see clusters as a helping tool for their policies, for their reforms, and for their actions. We tried in Ukraine, and even I was involved in the preparation of such kind of cluster strategy development in Ukraine, and even it was some slightly light in the government corridors that maybe this program will be adopted by government, but then it was before the war, and when war starts, all the resources, times, focuses shifted towards the survival during the war. So the cluster topics became behind all of this more important. But that's very interesting that you said that, because you are one of the example of the cluster which is succeed, and that's very different from the cluster of Slovenian Vladimir and Andro has.
I mean,
So
even though we have probably like 50 paying customers, that is still probably only 15 to 20% of our general revenue. The rest is from a diverse portfolio of different support programs, both regionally and directly to the state and on a national level or EU.
So to sum it up, going back to my first question to Vladimir and Andro, how they think to change their activity, not from cluster to consulting agency. So the consulting agency actually is a hard business because you always need to run for your client, and the cluster is more about community and the servicing your trust and your connection to this community rather than do business. Am I correct, Andra or Vladimir? What do you think?
Totally correct.
You are correct, yeah. And I agree with you, with Robert, that putting this government or in the position of the customer can be a good sort of homework for any cluster manager. the one which has good support already, but maybe this can change, or the one who has not been so lucky, and to see if this can be changed in some way, providing a good value proposition also for them. And this relates to different national programs. And for example, this new proposal we had in Build Up Skills is actually this interlinkage, of doing some renovation, which is needed or requested by EU directives, which should be done by member states, and the cluster can do this in collaboration with the government. So this kind of positioning this government energy ministry in this case into the cluster model for this particular project, it has been done, for example, but I think can be done in general, so it's not a bad thing. So again, this is the good thing with this cluster business model design canvas. You can play with it, you can use it, make many scenarios, many business models, and doing it, I guess you can find, okay, this is a challenge of communication with the ministry. Do we know somebody there or not? And that kind of questions can come out of this kind of homework. So yeah, it's a good idea and a good tool to do that. Actually, it doesn't cost anything. It's just about restructuring the things within this canvas, from being a partner or key resource to being a customer. And this can be done in other cases, too. But yeah, you are right. There are two domains, and the problem in EU is that the guys in the EU related cluster related activities are done separating that. We are in the same basket, all the clusters from 100% finance to zero finance, and they cannot not expect the same, from us because of that. We talk with the guys in the ECCP about this challenge many times, so they know the situation.
So, in case you don't have support from government or EU funding, what would your suggestion to all cluster members?
Find the ones which are really interesting for your services, work with them hard, and try to find the financing through European project. That's the only way to do it.
And the next possibility.
And what are your suggestion to cluster managers? Because I was asking what is to suggest to cluster members. For example, one day there will be very black day when you cannot access any EU funding or government funding. What you would say to your cluster members, and what you suggest to cluster managers from other clusters in same situation?
For cluster members, have at least a midterm vision. Not ask yourself what is here for me immediately this moment. Because clusters can't work like this. So be patient for cluster members. Give us the time. That's one thing, but also cooperate with us. Don't be passive. Because if cluster members don't understand that they must invest at least a little time in the cluster, how can they expect some benefits from cluster if you are only passive? So that's for the cluster members. For cluster managers, is, for example, try to understand if you don't have governmental support. Try to understand how your cluster can help uh, some ministry related in some ministry related politics and so on. Use the business model canvas, try to understand what is the value proposition for this ministry, and start to communicate with them. And, and maybe you will be lucky. I don't know. But that's for the beginning. If you don't have governmental support, maybe they don't even, maybe in some cases, means the people who work in the ministries, they even don't know that clusters exist. You know, you must to teach them that you exist, what is cluster, why is important, and so on. Start from the beginning. Well,
Okay.
you can't expect that they know everything about clusters. They don't.
Vladimir, what would your suggestions in such case?
Yeah,
Keep
my
cluster
suggestion is
members
to stay
and cluster sponsors.
awake and follow different opportunities which are there in different European programs, and try to grab them to European projects, and provide these to cluster members. We exploited, for example, the Cascade funding opportunity quite well in last years. Now we started with build up skills sort of domain, also because this reflects the need of human resources and skills and retrofit implementation in Slovenia. We are still engaged in different partners outside Europe in internationalization activities. You maintain the network, you communicate throughout the network of your partners, uh, approve, provide support letters for their proposals, ask them to support your proposals, and have this network alive. Uh, because this is, I think, as I said before, the key sort of capital of the cluster. The network of partners we have established in these years, the relations with people within these clusters. This is really important. The trust between the cluster members is one thing, but the trust that some cluster will deliver what was defined in the project proposal and project implementation. It's also very important, the quality of this delivery, and that kind of stuff. So maintaining this network is maintaining the car. It's like the same as the same thing. If you don't maintain the car, it can break, and the car, in our case, is this, at least in our cluster, is the key resource of construction cluster of Slovenia.
All right, one more question, and I'm done with questions. How do you think the Slovenia Grebeni Grost cluster will exist if you or Andro will left?
I will answer this question in the next webinar. No,
Okay.
it's really a really challenging question, because clusters are really hardly depending on the cluster manager and the guys which are, involved. So it's not easy to get actually a cluster manager. So building and training the cluster managers, uh, uh, it's lifelong learning thing. And if you don't do that, and you are doomed. You have to be really open and train yourself and train somebody which is potentially your successor in the cluster as such. So planning for that, it's really one of the things which need to be done, and I think we are in position to go in this direction. So yeah, without the proper person, proper cluster manager with proper competencies of different kind, it's really hard to run the cluster. That's why, for example, in Spain, in Catalonia, they have a ACCIO agency which runs the training for cluster managers before they are nominated for cluster managers, because they know this is really important. So this is part of the national program to train the cluster managers. So yeah, they are then also successful in this cluster domain in European project and so on and so forth. So you know the scenario. But one of the reasons is that they train professionally the cluster managers, which need specific trainings for sure. So yeah, this is one approach which is at least done in Spain. I don't know for other countries, but Spain runs it for years, and they are then also. This is reflected in a good outcomes of clusters especially in Catalonia.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I think, do you have something in your webinar left, or we can close the meeting?
No.
Andro.
So
We can
then,
close,
thank you very much for your time and input for preparation of this webinar. I thank for all of the guests that you are present. I hope that something from our conversation, our presentations was very useful for you. If not, then we will do better next time. I think we can close our webinar for today.
Just a moment. I want to mention that in the chat you can find the two links. One link is about the business model canvas more specifically, and another link is about the cluster business model report. So you can download the report about cluster business models from Strategy Tools. And yeah, that's from my side. So thank you again for attending this webinar, and we can close this webinar for now. Bye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Окей, nekako je šlo, ne, pa čez.
Stop recording samo malo.